guess I could just go ahead and get started then. Like, if they're not joining, they didn't react to the message anyway. Like, maybe they're busy or something. Whatever. Okay. So this is the last session on push flow criteria, chapter 2, and it's about Ishanten push, and the SMS book doesn't contain Ishanten push, so I was summarizing stuff from other books. And so let's first go through the factors to consider, and this is really in the sequence of like importance. First thing is the turn number. The reason is really the win rate of Ishanten decays too quickly, which we talked about in session 2. And second thing is, of course, dealership in Patsu. It depends on, it changes the value. And the third thing is chance of getting good shape weight, and this is the unique factor in Ishanten push, because when you're tenpai, you know whether you're good shape or bad shape. But then at Ishanten, there's a chance of you getting good shape or bad shape. And then and of course total acceptance. And the fourth one is value. Fifth one is open or closed. Later we'll talk about this conclusion is that when you're open, and especially when your Kamisha is Riichi, you're more likely to get any tile you want, because Kamisha can't choose whether to discard after Riichi. So when you're open and when Kamisha is reaching, the push criteria is a bit wider. So due to the huge decay rate of Ishanten win rate, the offense window where there are some hands that can be pushed quickly closes around like turn 11 or turn 12, and after turn 13, you should fold almost every Ishanten. Like, there's just, even if you're Mangan or Mangan plus, you don't have enough draws to even draw into Tenpai. Not to mention, like, you're pushing some non-Suji into a Riichi, so it's a thing. And so spoiler alert, the next slide contains a scary huge table, and this is just to show you how factors are being considered in research. So this is a table, and so the title says the condition that we're considering here is dealer versus non-dealer, and your hand is closed only, so you don't have a Yaku to open your hand. And so there are like 12 tables like this with a different condition, like dealer versus non-dealer, non-dealer versus dealer, and whether you can open or not. And then this square says you're cutting single non-Suji, which is the case we are interested in, because cutting Suji or something safer than Suji is almost in every case is almost a choice. And the 3 columns represent early game, mid game, and end game, respectively. And when the color is a warm color or like red, or it means that this push gives you massive positive EV. And when the color is a cold color, when it's blue, then it's a massive negative EV. And yellow is the EV neutral color. So and all these and all the second column represents different Ishanten. So this one is complete Ishanten. This is ramen kanchan. Oh, sorry, ramen rankan kanchan chitoi Ishanten. Headless triplet, floater Ishanten, floater plus connected 4, double connected 4 floater. And there's a very important thing in like this discussion about Ishanten push is how good is your Ishanten. You can see that if, let's say for this block, if you have a double connected 4 Ishanten, which means that there are 70, close to like 60 to 70 tiles that can give you Tenpai, which like there are only 100-ish tiles in total. How many tiles in total? 100. So 34 multiplied by 4. 136,000 total, which means that half of the wall gives you tenpai next turn. So this is like a combo draw in poker, where like half of the entire poker set gives you the draw. So double connected 4 is the strongest, and then so this means that you can like even at end game, you can still push a non-suji. It's just because it is too good. And then like when you have a cheat toy Ishanten, this just doesn't work anymore, and stuff like that. And this is from a website which is like a organization of like digital mahjong research or something. And this is another book which is called New Scientific Mahjong. If we had 20 weeks to prepare for the tournament, I would use this book as reference, but we only have 10 weeks. So this book is just like more in detail, and like it covers more topics, but then it takes longer to study. So that's why I chose the SMS. But here, like it's pretty much the same stuff, like complete Ishanten, ramen rankan, ramen kanchan, and then whether you are dealer or not. So the first thing we need to cover is the Ishanten tier list, which is how strong is your Ishanten. The best of the best is double connected 4 or a headless triplet, which means that you have an extremely wide weight with almost 100% chance of getting a good shape. For headless triplet is 100%. For double connected 4, it's a little bit smaller, but still it's almost 100%. And tier S is floater plus connected 4, complete Ishanten, ramen. So above S or S plus, we consider this Ishanten as a good shape confirmed Ishanten. And for tier A, which is which becomes floater Ishanten or ramen rankan, where you have a 50% chance of getting a bad shape weight. And when it goes down to tier B, which is ramen rankan kanchan or chitoi, it means that you have a confirmed bad shape weight. It also means that your acceptance is a lot narrower compared to the previous ones. So this discussion is based on like the wideness of like floater Ishanten. When you have like double connected 4, this means that you have 4 effective floater. When you have floater plus connected 4, it means that you have 3 effective floaters. When you have floater Ishanten, it means that you have 2 effective floaters. So the number of connected 4 determines the wideness of your floater Ishanten. But there's another dimension, which is the bulging support. It's not discussed in this book, but it's very important. Which determines the strength of your floater Ishanten. So what do we mean by bulging support? We're comparing this hand. Let's say, so this hand it's a full. The support is slime. I don't have time to ban you, but whatever. So this floater Ishanten is like a floater Ishanten. You have 2 floaters. One is the 5 mon, one is the 7p. So it means that if you draw 4 mon, 6 mon, 6p, 8p, you get a good shape. And if you draw 3 mon, 7 mon, 5p, 9p, you get a kanchan. And if you draw 5 mon and 7p, you get a shampoo. But let's compare this hand with this hand. So this hand is also a floater Ishanten. It's still a floater Ishanten of 5 mon and 7p. But then, no matter what, whether you draw like 3 mon, 4 mon, 6 mon, 7 mon, or 5p, 6p, 8p, 9p, you're always guaranteed to get a good shape weight. So this is like the effect of bulging support. Bulging support gives you good shape confirmation. Even if you draw 3 mon here, it gives you a kanchan. But if you draw 3 mon here, it gives you a ramen, because of the bulging shape. And also, like previously, if you draw 5 mon or 7p, you get a shampoo. But then since you're already holding one of them, the chance of you drawing another 7p is lower, so that the chance of you getting shampoo is lower, which means that there's even higher chance of getting good shape weight. So when you have bulging support for floater Ishanten, if you have 1 bulging, this becomes floater Ishanten was tier A. If you have 1 bulging, it raises to tier S. If you have 2 bulging, it raises to tier SS. So this is the the Ishanten tier system, and based on this tier system, there's a criteria you can use for closed Ishanten. And we're using the same absolute value for dealer and non-dealer, which means that, you know, like, let's say if you're 1 Han, then as non-dealer 140 fu. If you're non-dealer, then you're 1300. If you're dealer, then you're 2000. But we're using that absolute value based on whether you're dealer or non-dealer. So the starting point is if you have tier S plus, which means you have a good shape confirmed Ishanten, and you're facing non-dealer, you need 2000 point or more as your value, and if your condition is worse, it downgrades to 3900. If your condition is even worse, it downgrades to 77, and if it gets more worse, it's just banned. Pushing this Ishanten is banned. So what are the conditions that downgrades this criteria? Is first of all, if you're facing dealer, you should downgrade your Ishanten. You should downgrade once. If you're non-dealer and you're pushing double non-Suji, you downgrade once. We somehow see from those data that if you're a dealer, you don't care that much about non-Suji, double non-Suji anymore. And third thing is if your tier is worse from S by 1 tier, then downgrade once. Let's say if you're a tier A, then you should downgrade once. If you're tier B, you should downgrade twice. So what this means is, let's say, let's give some examples, I guess. Let's say if you're dealer versus non-dealer, and you have a Riichi no good shape, which means that good shape confirmed, which means that you're tier S, and the value is 2000, which means that you can push anything, because Riichi no is 2000 for dealer already. But if you're non-dealer, then you need 2 Han, because for non-dealer, Riichi Dora 1 is 26. And then for like the same thing for like 39. If 39 it's dealer 240 fu, but then for non-dealer it's 330 fu. So if you have Riichi pin for Dora 1 against non-dealer, you can push that. And yeah, so stuff like that. And 77 is non-dealer 430 fu, but for dealer it's only 340 fu. So that's what we mean about like using absolute value for this. This is a bit complicated. There are some easy to memory criteria. For girl shape particularly, if you're in mid game, if your Ishanten is good shape confirmed versus non-dealer, you need 2000 value. Facing dealer, you need 3900 value, and then turn number is very important. In late game, you should in general fold every Ishanten. And the third thing is push more if your hand is open. Even more if Kamicha is in Riichi. It's because when you're open, your hand is harder to defend. And if your Kamicha is in Riichi, it's easier to get any chi from Kamicha. So like there's a higher chance that you can very quickly progress from Ishanten to Tenpai. And then the final thing to discuss is if you're Ishanten and you're facing 2 Riichis already, then there's only one case where this thing is allowed, like pushing non-Suji into 2 Riichis with Ishanten. There's only one case that this is allowed, and all these following needs to be satisfied. First, you need to be dealer or your 4th place non-dealer, which means that, you know, this discussion is based on 10-hole like point condition. In the tournament, the fourth place punishment is less harsh. So you can, for the IC tournament, delete the second half, but for like for your Jade ladder, you can enable the second half. If one of your opponent is dealer, even pushing Suji is negative EV. No, like not to mention if you're now pushing a non-Suji. So that's the reason. The second thing is you have to be able to open. Only when you're able to open do you have the chance to catch up to 2 Riichis, because the lateral movement rate is too high. Like for most of the time, they're just dealing to each other very quickly. So the third thing is you have to be good shape confirmed. If there's some bad shape potential, this push is not justified. And then the fourth thing is your hand needs to be Mangan plus. So we're saying you need to be an open dealer Mangan plus with good shape confirmed. This is a very strict criteria where like you should be folding 99% of the Ishanten when you're facing 2 Riichis. because it's just not gonna work, and they are going to dealing to each other too often to justify your push. So that's it for today. And since we don't have enough people to do internal friendly, I guess this is it for today then. Unless you have any questions.
No.
Okay, yeah, then that's it. So regarding the individual feedback, I've been very busy with my like final exams or something. So I think I'll give them next week Wednesday. That's when my due date is over. Yeah, but yeah, otherwise just can I push non-Suji if I'm in Riichi Tenpai? That is last week's stuff. Yeah, that's last week's stuff. This is Ishanten discussion. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, then in this case, I will see you next week.